Religion has always been a fundamental matter in a human being's life. This allowed populations to have their own identity and their own rules of life that later became culture's long history. Nowadays, the world is composed by numerous traditions that sometimes have things in common or that sometimes differ, and religion is one of those parameters that always comes into play. The choice of facing this subject is due to the awareness of the importance of religions to either fuel intercultural conflicts, like in the past with the Crusades, and today with fundamentalisms, but also to be a wonderful instrument of reconciliation between people. Interreligious dialogue, as it was implemented by Pope John Paul II in his pontificate, created the necessary prerequisites to tear down the barriers that human beings have imposed on themselves, trying to build new contact bridges with religious diversity. This thesis, through a brief exploration of the life of the two religious pillars identified in Muhammad and Jesus Christ, aims at demonstrating how their diversity converges to a common message and how the divulgation of the latter can be a benefit for interreligious dialogue. This research is enriched by the testimonials of 3 persons actively involved in this matter that allow us to have a general overview of the subject and to share important ideas useful to pursue the goal of understanding and respect between people. Retracing briefly the life of Jesus and Muhammad permits to attest a substantial difference in the divulgation of their message, Muhammad through conflicts and jihad, and Jesus through his parables and miracles, although remaining faithful to the extreme goal of spreading the divine message of an only God. Starting from the definition given in the document Dialogo e Annuncio, published in 1991 by the Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue, dialogue can be understood in different ways. In the first place, at a human level, dialogue means reciprocal communication to reach a common goal. In second place, it can be considered as a friendly and respectful behavior that should penetrate in all the activities involving the mission of the Church. In third place, in a context of religious pluralism, dialogue refers to all positive and constructive interreligious relationships with people or communities of different faiths for a mutual understanding and enrichment, although respecting liberty. Dialogue with Muslims has become a historical necessity due to the proximity to which Christians and Muslims are facing today, and for the numerous affinities for which avoidance is impossible. The search for dialogue aims at putting into light the convergence elements they have in common, and at ensuring that these elements are not cancelled by the doctrines that differ the two faiths, but also at promoting religious and spiritual progress of every person, social justice, moral values, and peace. In order to analyze attentively the subject, 3 different persons with different beliefs and positions were interviewed and asked the same questions so as to understand the points they have in common. The first interview was made to Adnan Muqrani. After listening to his words, we can deduce that dialogue is not a problem but a solution. The real problem is the conflict, the misunderstanding, and ignorance. It is a remedy for everything, so a vital necessity for peace. The solution proposed by Adnan Muqrani is to make dialogue become an essential component of culture, starting at school, teaching the history of religions and languages. Another solution is to promote cultural tourism in order to discover the richness of other countries. Moreover, mass media are also an important factor regarding this issue. In fact, they often don't help dialogue because they only focus on negative aspects of life. Dialogue is also limited due to fear of discovering other cultures because people see them as a potential danger or threat. There is also a social factor. There is a radical change of habits and rhythms, and this leads to a juxtaposition of natives and immigrants. For this reason, cultural mediators play a crucial role in trying to gather people belonging to different cultures and help the immigrants to integrate themselves in a new society. The second interview was made to Roberto Catalano, from which we can deduce that dialogue is not a recent problem, but it has become a vital manner in recent times, especially in the last 20 years, particularly in Europe because of immigration. Without any doubt, there is more and more a dialogue of life, which involves people every day. There is also a cooperation dialogue with several initiatives, and then there is an intellectual dialogue. Today, if we look at the general picture, the dialogue of life, even if not very visible because not linked with the media, surpasses the intellectual or academic dialogue. Much progress has been made, and there are many projects in progress that stimulate dialogue between cultures, but there is still a long way to go with several obstacles. However, the train departed, and we must make sure that it continues carrying on. The last interview was made to Hamza Roberto Piccardo. From his words, we can deduce that dialogue cannot focus on doctrinal principles that are by definition undisputable, but on the ethical and cultural consequences that derive from them. The commitment of believers must be consistently and passionately aimed at searching what joins us and not what differs us. A crucial problem is the instrumentalization of religions by powers to convince people about the incompatibility of their respective worldviews. All religions have ethical values in common, and doctrinal differences mustn't lead to hate and to enmity. These three interviews converge to a common idea: the need for culture and of knowing each other. In view of an even more multicultural and pluri-religious future society, we must act on information and education from a very young age. To conclude, interreligious dialogue concerns every single religion. In fact, dialogue at a religious level means facing the two most important mysteries on which human existence depends. Our world today has entered, in an irreversible way, in a dimension of globalization. We are part of a new era of human history in which dialogue, at all levels, seems to be necessary for our existence. In our society, we are faced to two possibilities: to foster peace or to generate a clash. In such a fragmented situation, we must find ways to favor communication, dialogue, and coexistence. This is why we must confront ourselves with others, so as to find out what are the values that all men have in common, from which we should deduce common rules to ensure a peaceful future between communities. Every religion should open itself and address other traditions in a context of pluralism. Dialogue with Islam is, without any doubt, a hard challenge due to the historical conflicts between Muslims and Christians. However, in many places, we can feel the desire to overcome the numerous prejudices of the past. There have been many steps forward in the later years, but there is still a lot to do to achieve reciprocal respect, understanding, and friendship. As Pope Francis said in his recent trip to Jordan and Israel, we cannot buy peace. It is a gift we must patiently look for and create on our own through little and big actions that are part of ordinary life. Only that religion and culture that will be capable of greater dialogue and openness can hope to give a positive contribution to the new era imposed to all mankind. This unlimited and reciprocal openness seems to be the only alternative to overcome the tribal conflicts that hate humanity since the beginning and that were the cause of interminable tragedies over history.